Hello everyone. Welcome once again to the African Tech Gurus. Remember, this is your channel where we say learning is by doing. And today we are going to learn about structures. This is what we will be talking about today. And I will be covering the content of this particular topic for today. And in this particular concept, I will be sharing with you how to go about structures, how to be able to, what structure are, how to declare structures, how to initialize the structures object. That's what you will be covering in this particular video. And for that case, let me just take this particular moment to welcome our new viewers. Welcome once again to the African Tech Gurus. Feel free to comment, to like our videos, and even to share with your friends. And to our returning subscribers, welcome once again to this new video. All right, let's take a step and see what we have for today, despite the fact that I've said what we're having. So I have it here. So let me expand this one a bit here. So what is my outline for today? The outline that we are having for today is what is a structure. What do we need to understand what a structure is? And then why do we need structures? Yes. How do we declare structures? And how do we initialize the structures objects? So these are majorly what I will be covering in these particular videos. Hope you will enjoy everything in this particular video. So as you can see that there are several resources that you have been provided. There's this particular resource number one that you have been provided. This is a PDF that give you an overview of what you're supposed to cover or what structures are. I have tried to simplify all these particular resources that have been given here. I've summarized in this particular video to give you the overview of what structures are, so that in as much as you begin doing your assignments or when you try to do some tasks, you will be able to have an idea of what you are going to do in this particular task for today. So I will begin by the outline number one that says what is a structure. Then we're asking ourselves, what is a structure? In this particular document here, we've been provided what a structure is. That a structure is a user-defined data type available in C that allows us to combine data items of different kinds. Remember, initially when we were doing variables, we were saying a variable has some of its syntax, and we say that a variable name must give us a variable name has to give us the data type in which that variable has, and it will store which data type. Is it an integer variable? Is it a character, or it is a float? These are examples of what we call the primitive data types. So even in the structure, we say that structure is a user-defined data type, that is available in C and allows you to combine data of different kinds. So when you talk about structures, we are combining different data. We are combining integers, we are combining characters, we are combining strings, all of them to form one thing that is called a structure. Then how can we say, remember that when we're doing variable, we used to say that there is a way in which you create variables. One, we need the data type, that is the data type of that particular variable, and then the name of that variable, and then now the data type and the name. That is when you talk about the declaration. But you can declare at the same time initialize, whereby you will require what we call the data type still, and you will require also the name of the variable and is equal sign, and then give a value. For example, give it 0, like that. So this particular variable called name in this case, all right, let me just give an example so that it will not be just name. A data type for this case I can call an integer, that is the data type of that particular variable. And what is the name of that particular variable? I can call it age. So the name of that variable is age, which is of type int. The syntax is data type, the name, and then the value if you are declaring it and initialize at the same time. So that is For that case, that is for the only declaration. So we can say that this one we are doing only what we call declaration here. So then we come to this second one where we want to have the variable and then until we initialize it. So data type is integer. Then what is the data type name? It is age, and then what is the value? We give it to 0. So what can you say? That int is the data type, age is the variable name, and 0 is the value that is initialized to that particular variable. All right, that is what I can call it in this case, initialization. Okay, it's both of them. It is declaration, and initialization. So I have declared and at the same time I've initialized that particular variable. So that is how we're able to do it. That's how we do when you talk about variables. Now we are in structures. What about structures? What happens in structures? In structures, we are combining different data types. So we can have integers, we can have character, we can have float, and all this. All this now to be combined to form one data type. How could this be possible? Let me show you. There is syntax. We need to have syntax for writing a structure. So we have, let's talk about syntax. Let me say syntax for structures. Let me say syntax for structures. I believe you'll be able to understand what structures mean as we go by. So what are the syntax? First of all, we need to have the keyword, which is struct. For that case, so let me say the keyword, which is also the data type, the keyword in this case, and then we have the name of that particular structure, which is also called the tag name. It's called tag name, or we'll call it the name of that particular structure. And then here now we will have something again called the members. Members in this case now is the different item that this particular structure will have. So we'll have an integer, something like that. So the several variables. So several variable, we have integer variable, we have char variable, and we have the float variables. So these are what we refer them as members of this particular structure. Let me give you a real life example. That's what it means. Assuming that you have been told to store the data of students, and we have more than one student, maybe we have 10 students. How will we go by? We don't need to keep on initializing the name of student every now and then. We need to have a way that we'll have a group of student information. So let's have one structure. So struct, like that, that's the keyword, and then the name. I will say student, let me call it student info, like that. That is my structure. This is the keyword and this is the tagline for that particular structure. And then what are the members of this particular structure? Member is int. First of all, I want to know the int, which is, I can say, okay, let me say the int, let me call it char, and I need to have the name of the student. So char, and then I will specify as to have 20 characters to contain the name of the student. Remember what we said? How do we declare variables? We declare variables by having the data type in which that variable is, the name of that variable, and the value it stores. So here I say char, and then they say name, and then which require 20, this one, to store the name. And in this case, we cannot say that is equal to this one. That is wrong. So let's leave it like that. Let's have it now like that. So let's see something else. Now that we have said that one, well, let's see now another information about the student, which will be the character, and we say, I can say, maybe say the email, student email. You can say student email, can give it as that. Okay, let me give a space kidogo, 30, like that. And then I also need to have the age of the student. So I can say int, not age, I mean, can call it, okay, the integer, but not age, let's call it max. And then like that. So, and then now I come and close. So what you are realizing is that in this particular here, what I'm having is that I am having 3 members of this particular structure. So this structure has 3 members. It has this structure, the keyword, the tagline of this particular structure, or the name of this particular structure. And then here we have the members that belongs to this particular structure. So, and you can notice that all this is a character, these are a string, okay, these are strings, and then these are integer. And all these are classified to come to what you call the student info. Somebody might be asking, if we print out the content of this, will it print something? I say no. Why? Because this is just para template. It's like a template that tells the compiler how this will look like. So let me show you something else. If I want to know what is the size, if I run a printf, like this, and I say the size of, in this case, maybe I give that particular, the size of this particular struct. If I give and find the name of this particular struct here, what do you think will I have as the answer? Okay, I'm not running here. What do you think I will have as an answer? If I run this one, what will I have as an answer? The answer will be, let's do all of us. Here, we know that character has 1 byte. It's 1 byte. So 1 byte multiplied by 20, we'll have 20 of them. Then we have character again, which is 1 byte multiplied by 30, we have 30. Then we have the integer. Integer, it's 4. So give it 4. So the size of this will give us 20 plus 30 plus 4 will give us 54 if we run the size of that particular structure. So what are we saying is that it combines all different items and store in one user data type or user defined data type. So now that we have understood that these are collection, so that student info, we may not have the student information of only one student. We can need to have information of more than one student. So how can we do that? We can do that by having what we call declaring a variable that is of the structure. That is of this structure. How can we do that? So, okay, let me take the outline. We are done with this. Okay, I have not explained why do we need structure. One, the reason as to why we need structure is to process data of different types. Since you cannot declare a variable of all of this, why? Because I can't declare a variable of 10 students. It will be a lot of work. So I need to have a structure that has the name, the student info, the name, the email, and the student marks. And this one, I will just be saying student 1, this is the information. I will not be saying student 1, integer, value, the name, the age, the email, and all those. But I just say student 1. So how that is now the reason as to why for us to be able to process data of different data types, which are in this case may be many. So it helps us to be able to process data of different data types. Now, how do we declare structures? How do we declare structures? I've shown you that. I have done that and I've shown the syntax and I'm able to do it like this. So now let's proceed and do what next? What do we have next? Now that we have understood the structure, how do we let's create now? We have created a structure. Let's now come to a point of creating a variable of that particular structure. How do we create a variable? Let's come here and say what we will do is that let me come and say there are two different ways. I can say here student 1. Let's say student1 like that. At that I've created a variable, and I can give that student1 and say the value of that student1 is equals to the character. The name of that student1 is let's say is called African Tech. That's the name of that student, or African Tech Gurus, like that. That's the name of that student. And then what next? The next thing is the email of that student, which I can say African. Okay, I have to put in quotes, like that. African at gmail.com, like that. And then what next is? The next is the int marks. Maybe that student has scored 90, like that. So what you're realizing is that I'm going by the order, the character name, the current name, that's the name of that student. The student name is African Tech Gurus. What is the email of the student? african@gmail.com. And then what is the marks of this particular student? It is 90. So that is one of the ways I can be able to declare a variable, and this is what you call, okay, this is initializing a variable student with the information that pertain that particular student. This is what we call I'm doing it outside the int main function. But literally we can do the second method. That this was method 1. Let me give it as method 1. Let's see it on the second method. On the second method, I will just come and say int main, like that, int main void, as usual, like that. That which means the entry or the start point of our program. And then at that point, I will say that struct, this is the second way of having the variable. So struct and then the student info, as it is like this here, as it is here. Let me increase this one a bit. Yes, so I will say student info like that. So I written wrong spelling. Student info like that. And then I will now have variable 1, which I'll say, okay, student, I will say student 2, student 2 like that. So student 2, and then I can give and say is equals to, I give the information of this particular student. I give student is, let's say, tech, like that. That's the name. What about the email? Tech, that is tech@gmail.com, like that. And then what is the marks? Marks I can give 85, and then I close. So this particular student 2 has this information. So we have the information as Gmail, the tech@gmail, and then 85. So these are the information of this student 2. So let's have another student 3. Student 3, we can have this student 3 to be, okay, in student 3 I will use another different method of having this particular variable for this particular structure. So I will show you another different way. Another different way is just initialize. Okay, initially I can just initialize without giving it any value. I can just declare without giving any value. So struct student info, that is student info, like that, and then I give it a student 2. Okay, let me give student 3 like that, or maybe I can just have it at the bottom here so that it will be in order. So let me have it this one, let me have it here. So we have this particular student 3. So I just declare this particular variable, that is struct info, and then the variable. This is the variable now that will store the information as name, email, and the marks of that student. So this is it. That is declaration. Let me call it declaration. Hope you are getting the difference between declaration and initialization. So let's come and do the initialization. How can you do the initialization? Initialization, I have that particular, I'm having that particular variable that is student3. So I'll say student3. I'm sorry, it has to be okay. Let me use small letters like that. Is student3 like that. Student3 dot. I'm using dot to assess. I'm using a dot to assess the members of that particular structure. The members of which particular structure? The structure called student info. So I'm using a dot, the variable name dot, to assess the members. What are the members? The members is the name, the email, and the marks. So those are the members. So I say student dot name, student dot name, and then I give the value, which is student dot name. I give the value to be like this, name to be tech gurus, like that. So I give the name to be like that, and then I terminate like that. So, and then I will say again student 3 dot email. So the email of this student 3 is equals to tech gurus. Let me say tech gurus at gmail.com, like that. So I have that one as the email of this particular student 3. So what next? Student dot marks. So I get the marks of this particular student is equals to marks is this student is equals to 95, like that. So what you are getting is that I just first did the declaration. This up to this end, guys, is the same as this one. You see this one? The way I'm doing this student 2 is the same as I have done this student 3. It is the same thing. Nothing has changed. It is the members of this particular structure: student name, student email, and student marks. So see student 3, I did declaration first, I did initialization, and I did now initialization, which I give each and every element what the value. So guys, I have shown you different way of declaring variables in structures. This is the one, and this is the second one, and then this is the third one now, where we have to give the structure and the student then declaration first, and then you come now to initialize with the values. Hope you are getting up to that particular point, that I have shown you how to be able to initialize the members of that particular variable with different values. So let's come to another point and say print out. Let's say print the values of the members of a structure. Okay, like that, of a structure. So we want to print the values. Now that we want to print the student information of this particular student, let's begin with student 1. How do we print the information of this student 1? Let me show you. I will use the printf. I say printf like that. I'll say printf and then bracket, and then I will say student 3. Let's say student 1 name is like that. Oh, I'm sorry, I never closed this one. So student 1 name is that one, and then I say percentage s. Is it s? Yes, percentage s, and then I say a new line, that is n, and then what I do next, comma, then I give that particular student. Okay, what do you think, guys? If I say comma name, what will happen? What will happen if I do this way? Somebody might question, what will happen? Yes, if I do this one is not making sense at all. This one is not making sense at all. Why? Name is not self-explanatory. This may give me an error. Why? Because this one I have not specified the name of who, which student. Am I referring to student 1, student 2, or what? So I have to say student 1 dot the name. So it will go to the particular variable called student1 here dot the name of that student. Yes, and what we are expecting to have it here, guys, we will have something like this as the answer or the expected output is we are expecting to see something like student1 name is what is the student name? We are having as African Tech Gurus here. So let me copy like this. So this is what we expect to see. If we run this particular line of code, we are expecting to see something like this as our output. Student name is African Tech Gurus. So we expect to see a name like this if we run that particular code. Now, that is the name. We can have the same case when we are doing what? When we are doing the email. So copy like this. Let me copy. So if we have now for email, what we just change here is email like that. And then what is the expected output? We'll have an output almost the same as this. So our output will be now with the email of that particular student. And what is the email of that particular student? It is african@gmail.com. So that is the email of that particular student. So first I'll change here student email. And then here I'll say student email. Same case when you're doing, so same this when you run this code, it will give us this one. So this is what we expect to see even as we run even for the others. Even for the others, we run for student 3, we'll just say printf, and then we say maybe say student 3 info. Let me say student 3 info, and then I say like this student 3 info, and then I say percentage s. Then we have also percentage s. I can have as all of them. I can combine all of them. So let me combine all of them and see how will it look like. So I say percentage s, then percentage s again, because the name, the email, and then also I can say percentage d for the marks like that, and then I close this way, and then I say student, this one I will have these ones. This is for the first is student name, so I will have student name like that, comma, I will have student email like this. So this is the student email, and then I will have the student marks, which is like this. Copy and have it like this. Up to this point, guys, I believe that at this point, this one will give us the all information about this particular student. So what will be the output? The output, guys, will be student 3 info, and then this one, and then it will say what is the name of this student 3. Student 3 is Tech Gurus, so this will be the name, so it will have the name here, and then we will have here where is it here, we'll have the email of this particular student. We will also have the marks of this particular student, which is 95. So we expect to have all this information, so unless, okay, that is up to that point. So maybe I can say here /n so that it will be on a new line. All right, so at that point, guys, I have been able to show you the walkthrough of these particular structures. Let me see one last thing. So our one last thing will be that I will show you, I will just try to remind you that one thing is that the one thing I want to remind you is that whenever you are giving values to the members of a particular structure, you must to be in the order. For example, we can't say that we are talking about student 4. Let's say student 4. So we can't say struct, then student info like this. You can't say struct student info, and then what we do next, okay, the student is student 4 like this, and then we give our values as this way. We can't give values as this way. African, let me have the training. African tech at gmail.com, and then we have another thing as tech, that is the name. Why do you think this will be an error? One, it will give you a wrong output. It will give a wrong output. Why? Because here it is expecting an email, but it's expecting a name, but you are giving an email. Here it's expecting an email, but you are giving a name. So at the end of the day, it will give you wrong values. Instead of printing you a name, it will print you an email. Instead of printing you an email, it will print you a name. And then another thing is that this is method 1 for doing this particular declaration of a variable, and this is method 2. Okay, I would recommend you that you do method 2 and 3. Method 2 and 3 are good. This one may not be recommendable for method 1, but method 2 and method 3 are correct, and they are good. So now let's get through something that we have been given here, and I show you. Now I've given you all these things. Let's see a summary of what we have been given. We have been given that a structure declaration. You can define a structure in a global scope of a program outside all your functions, just like the function prototypes. You can declare elements of your structure and its scope. For example, here, this one will be given a structure, and this is the structure named called user. All right, and then what are the members of this particular structure? We have the name, the email, and the age. And the name and the email are all pointers pointing to a character array. They are all variables which are pointers pointing to a character array. What do I mean? They are variables, but they are pointers pointing to a character array. I believe I'm explaining to you well. And then we come to this particular point in main void. Then we have struct user. What happens here is that this is struct user and then user. What are you trying to understand? User here is the variable of structure user. It is the variable of structure user. It's like saying we have many users. So this can be user 1, user 2, user 3, user 4. Yes, it is user. It is the variable of a user, a particular user, a user X whom we don't know. Maybe you can have 10 users. Maybe this is user 4. User 4 information, user 4 has a name, user 4 has an email, and user 4 has an age. Yes, so that is what happened. Next is the structures we have been given here. It's the same thing. Now at this point, this was at this point where structure user. These were what we call the declaration. At this point, they were declaring that particular variable, not variable, the variable of that particular structure. Then we come to this other point whereby this person is doing an initialization of a value into a member of this particular structure. A structure has a member called name, and we have declared a variable called user, which will be user having in the user. Remember, this user contains the elements of the structure. So this user, which is a variable containing the elements of that particular structure, it contains the first element as name. Then we give the name of that element number 1 name, yes, Vupa. That is this one. We can initialize all these other members of this particular structure, but at this point, this person is doing what you call the initialization of the structure objects or the structure elements. Okay, so you can access the elements of your structure by using dot. So Dot is what will able to access the member of that particular structure. Now let's proceed. What next? This one at this point. So we have been given included the structure, this one element and the structure and the members, and then it main void. You have the variable user, and then user.name. Element number 1, that's the name. Element number 2, email, give the email. Element number 3, that's age, give the age. So all these are stored in a variable called user. It can be person Y, it can be person 1, person 2, person 3, user 10 or user 20. This can be a user, certain user whom we don't know. Who this user has a name, the email, and the age. And this information are stored in a variable called user, which is of structure. I believe I've explained well. Okay, what happened? Yes, you are able to see here that when we assign, it's a pointer. Yes, a pointer. What happened to a pointer? When you give a pointer, what happened is that pointer takes how many? We know that pointer takes how many? Pointer is 8 byte. So it will take, what's the value? Vo bar. So F in the first init position and all those up to SPC is the space bar on your keyboard, and then bar, and then here is /0, which is the null byte. That's a space for a null byte. All right, so it allocates 8 spaces for this particular. It allocates 8 spaces for this particular name, which means the name, that is letters of name, that is F-O, and then a space key, that's also like another space, then VAR, that's like another 3 spaces, that is become 7, and then /0, which is a null byte. So all of them take 8 spaces. So it was, if we had say that character or car, and then name, and then square bracket 10 or 9, it will be enough. Assuming that we had said instead of this person saying car pointer name like this, instead of this person saying this way and saying this way car then name like this, and then giving at maybe 10. Okay, it's 8 is enough because I've included up to null byte. So 8 is enough like that. So this person, this could still work. Yes, because at the end of the day, it takes how many spaces? 8. So next thing is that nothing changes more here. It's almost the same thing. Let's continue. Step number 3, what changes? Nothing changes. Let's come to these pointers to structures. Pointers to structures. Now we are going to understand why this person is using an asterisk, which is a pointer, to a character. Why instead of using just a name? Why is this person using this one and not this one? And that is what we call the pointers to structures. This person is using this one and not using this one. Why? Let's see. Remember when we were doing pointers, sometimes back when we were doing pointers, what we said about pointers is that we say that pointers is stored the address of a particular variable or point to a particular memory location. For example, you are seeing here we have this name, email, and age. Then you have in main void. Then this person has declared 2 variables. The first variable is user, which is of type struct, which is struct user. This is a first variable. The second variable is a pointer. It's a pointer. Yeah, this second variable is a pointer, but it's still on structures. It's a pointer. Then he went ahead and he or she went ahead and say BTR, which is that particular variable pointer, is equals to that is the ampersand and then user. What is this person trying to say? This person is saying that this particular variable will contain the address of the memory user, or I'm sorry, that contain the address of the variable user. I don't know if you're getting me. This one contains the address. It is pointing to a memory called user. So for us to be able to access the member of these users, we can still use dereferencing. What is dereferencing? Guys, what is dereferencing? Dereferencing is accessing value that is stored in a particular memory for which a pointer is pointing to. So the value that are stored in a variable called user for which pointer ptr is pointing to. So this pointer ptr is pointing to a variable called user. So dereferencing is we are trying to assess the members or what is contained in that variable called user, which is the name, the email, and the age. So here at the top here we have the name, email, and the age. And all these are the member of a structure called struct user. Hope you are getting me. Now we are building on what we did. We are building on. So that you say pointer.name, which is like saying user.name, and this person is now giving a vo bar. Then it comes ahead and say there's another new method. Instead of using this one, I can still use other second method, which is ptr dash or a dash and then greater than sign, then email, and then give that value. It is the same. The first one and the second one works the same. Yes, they all works the same. At the end of the day, you are assessing a member of a structure, which is email or name, and giving a value. I believe you have understood that. Let's see second last thing. Here we have been given complete the function new user to get the following output. What are the output you are getting, guys? We are having this particular output here. This one. We are having this particular output here. So what will happen? What are you trying to understand out of this particular code? First of all, let's try to understand this particular code. And so what I will do is that I will help you to understand this particular code. And here we have been told to do this. Okay, let me show you the next one so I explain the whole of it. What is trying to say is that trying to ask you to complete a function here. So let me show you the last part here, where it shows this person is giving us a code, but the more important thing about this code is that we need to understand the code itself. We can't say that we have to proceed if we don't understand this particular code. Then the biggest question is, what does this code entail? All of us, we know these are libraries, stdio and stdlib, our libraries, and then we have here the structure, which we have learned all through this video, that the structure has its members, and then something new here comes. What is it trying to say? Struct user, new user. Now this one, at this point now, a function has been added again. So at this point now, you also have a function called new user, and as how many arguments? 3 arguments. Argument number 1, name. Argument number 2, email. And argument number 3, age. Argument name is a pointer pointing to a character array. Argument email is a pointer pointing to a character array. And then the last argument is age. That is an integer as an argument. Oh, all right. Then what are we trying to say about this particular code? So we say that it has a new user function. It has created a function that's called a new user. So at this point, we have structures and we have function at the same page. All right. So the new user function creates and returns the new instance of a user structure. That is why you have here struct user and a pointer of structure. So what does it do? It creates and returns a new instance of user structure. So the user structure has 3 members. We have said that it has the name, the email, and the age, which are a pointer to the character array and to an integer. Like we have the pointer to a character array, that is the name and the email, and the integer. So the new user function takes 3 arguments in this case, that is the name, string, and that the name of string, and we have the email as a string also, and we have the age as an integer. It creates a new instance. What you are seeing here, it creates a new instance and of user structure, assign the values of name. It has the name, the email, and the age to corresponding members of the structure. and returns the pointer to the new structure. If the memory allocation fails, now the function returns a null. So what you are seeing is that if user is equals to null, if the allocation of if the allocation of these values to these members of the structure fails, it will return null. Else, if it does not fail, then insert. So what do you see? That this one dot this name, then give the name. User dot email, give the email. User dot age, give the age. Return user. So now that you have all this, return now the user. So that is what it does. Now then we come now to the main function. Here we have the int main function. So for the main function, a new user instance is created using the new user function. Here you have the user, then new user function is created. At this point now, you are giving values to this particular function called new user. So remember, the first argument was name. What's the name given? Vu. The second argument was email. What's the email? This one. That argument was age. It's given age. When it's given age, that function will now come and take the values that you have given them and insert the element of that structure. I don't know if you are getting me. It's like saying I have a new user. I have new user, guys, like that. And then this new user has 3 arguments. Let me not write all of them. Let's say argument 1, as argument 2, and as argument 3. This function is asking you, give me the values of these 3 arguments. Give me the value, the name, give me the email, and give me the age. So I give the name as n, I give the email as n@gmail, like that, .com. I give the marks as 89, like that. So it will take this n and give to the function. It will take the email and give to the function, the element 2, and give that 89 and give to the function. What the function does is that it will take those arguments given and assign now to the members of that particular structures. So it's like saying what you have obtained here, n. You have obtained n. Yes, I have obtained n. What is n? N is the name. So I've obtained n. So give that particular n to a member of a structure called name. So that n, that's the name, give to the element, initialize the element. It's like now saying, let's assume we are having for student 5. So let's say saying student 5 dot name is equals to the name given, n is equals to n. It's like saying what we are getting here, give to the name of a student 5. Then you come and say also student 5 dot email. So where are we getting? We are not giving email. Where are we getting the email? It's like saying give me what you got from the function. Function, give me what the user gives you. The user gave me n at gmail.com. That is what the user gave me. Oh, that's what the user gave you. And what is it? The user gave me an email which is n at gmail. Okay, then give that value to student 5. So I will say give this value, this one, to student 5. So student 5 will have that email. Let's have it now. The same case to all these others. That's student 5 dot it was marks, not age. So we have that one is equals to, what are you getting? What did the user give you? Okay, the user gave me 89. All right, the user gave me 89. What is it? What is 89 all about? It is marks. Okay, the user gave me this one. I am a function. My name is new user. I am a function. And the user gave me 89 as marks. Okay, take that 89 now and give to the element marks of structure. So that will be 89. So student 5 will have n at gmail and 89. So that's what this particular code does, guys. So now that it has given these values, and then it check now, was it assigned successfully? if the user is equals to null, meaning that the memory allocation, okay, the value allocation to that particular element of the structure, if it was not successful, return 1. Else, if it is now successfully, this is how it now prints. It prints it assigns and then print the value. So print user percentage s, that is, it insert the name, that is user who created, is email is vu@vu.bar, and then we have and percentage d years old. So d is the years of this person, which is we have been given to be a 98. So at this point, guys, I have explained to you what this particular code does. So I will not go much into this, but at least at this point, you have been able to understand each and every part of this particular concept. Guys, I will end there, but I believe I've explained to you what structure does, and I've explained to you this particular code, and you have now understood this particular code. Now, guys, what next? What is still remaining? So as we finish, guys, allow me, there's another link given here. There's a link you have been given, documentation structures. Okay, that is for documentation for structures. So this is the documentation. This is how the structure will look like. You must first of all have like this. That is this is the comments. This one you must do it for Betty not to complain. You must give this one to Betty. Unless if you don't do that, Betty will always complain. Tell Betty whatever you are doing. These are struct, my struct. This is struct, that is the keyword, and then my struct, that is the struct name. Here, guys, there's a description. They're the first member of that structure, the second member, the third member. You must tell Betty. And then description, okay, that one. And then I believe that one, that was the more of important thing here, because this was the documentation of this particular, how do we do the documentation of a structure. So guys, up to that point, I will say goodbye. But don't forget one thing, don't forget to subscribe to our channel, African Tech Gurus. This is a channel where learning is by doing. Bye bye guys, see you in the next video. We'll be having the task.